All right, we are doing another live clip video segment for YellBRo Dark. Topic of the day: inauthentic life. Uh, we're gonna be playing a video with this guy named Michael Tsarion. He's gonna talk about the inauthentic life, but you're gonna hear similar terms that I use. Uh, a lot of them actually. I like a lot of the words he used. We don't always mean exactly the same thing. Here's something for sure. He's going to be very mean about it. He's not going to like the same exact things. If he says something about liking Ayn Rand, a lot of people will be like, the fucker. But maybe he interprets her a different way, or maybe he's, I don't know, a capitalist at heart. Either way, I'm going to ask some questions that I think should be taken seriously. I know I will, and have. Before we get started, don't forget to share, support, hopefully donate to all the links in the description box. Do it. Do it now. Donate, share, copy and paste it onto your favorite social media site, then hit enter. And do it now. All right. So the name of this video is Michael Tsarion, The Inauthentic Life and the Importance of Living Authentically. That should be a pretty old interview. Like in like the 2000, I don't know. Probably the 2009, 8 or 9 maybe. Maybe 10, 2010. It's like for sure at least 10 years old. But all right, here we go. Should be interesting and spooky, depending on how serious you take. Here we go.
And that question is, what is it about our constitution or about our psychology as humans that makes us want to submit, that makes us ideal candidates for collecting into these large structures which serve ends which are not in our own interests?
Well, to answer part one of your question is why I put out a lot of questions and rhetorical questions. The simple answer to that is because I am a questioner. I am absolutely a questioner. I question and doubt everything. That's the simple answer to that. Some are rhetorical and some are, the normal kind. We get on to the more deeper question that you're asking there. That has to deal with what is referred to in existential philosophy as the authentic or inauthentic life. These terms arise out of a philosopher from Denmark called Søren Kierkegaard, and then picked up by people like Heidegger, Schopenhauer, Nietzsche, etc.
Now, all right. I would ask that it's not listened to exactly so academically. I don't really, to be honest with you, a lot of these things like that's not important. It's not really important in regards to like he quoted this person wrong or whatever the fuck. I would say that anywhere. I'm like, okay, what about the idea this person's talking about? Let's look at the idea. Let's break apart the idea. That's what I would ask for. And there's plenty of like academic maybe type of thinkers that are like, that's not the quote. That's not what they meant by that. Let's try to hear what he means and then break it apart. I think that's important to do as well. Here we go.
In which they talked about two kinds of man. The man who lives an authentic life, which would be in Eastern mysticism known as the dharmic life, and the man who's inauthentic, and that's the karmic life. So when we look around the world, we see these two kinds of people. And the problem is that in the inauthentic model, there's tremendous there's primary guilt. Guilt, not of the kind that we normally know when we do some little misdemeanor or we hurt some person's feelings or whatever, that type of nonsense. That's the secondary guilt, lesser guilt. There is an existential guilt based on your own inner subconscious commitment to live an inauthentic life. And from that guilt and from that commitment to live the inauthentic life comes an entire inverted tree of life of many, many other syndromes, and many other complexes that we're familiar with in the world.
Like I said, although I don't agree entirely with everything this guy's going to say, but also some of the future things he's done since then, some of his social ideas, dog shit. But like I said, he's not going to pull punches. Like it is what it is, and trust as much as it's like, as much as your like ego defenses want to jump up and be like, no, stop, that's not me, stop. Like really, like just listen. Give it a good listen. And like that's an interesting idea right there. Feeling some sort of internal guilt because you're not being the person you actually know yourself to be, right? That happens on not only like a little bit more of a shallow way. It's not really shallow, but like it comes off as more of a shallow way because it's your ego negotiating shallow ideas. Like, oh man, how come I didn't pursue writing or basketball or no grammar or acting or something? Why did I get this stupid desk job? There's that thing. Well, it's the egotistical idea, a little more shallow. Then there's the one where you're almost living the mask you put up, persona you put up to the world, like you're living through that. That question you asked earlier, Jesse, I believe he's gonna say some stuff about it. Doesn't pull punches. He's gonna be a lot more, mean. Here we go. That's the kind of stuff I like, though. I like the mean stuff. I don't know why. I just enjoyed it. More of a kick my own ass tonight than kicking the world's ass. So that's what I enjoyed. All right, here we go.
Life of many, many other syndromes, and many other complexes that we're familiar with in the world. One of those branches, one of those symptoms, is then man's penchant to submit. Because
What's
the
up,
answer to
Anthony?
your question in one single sentence is this: man has found it more satisfactory, and believe me, this is irrational, but nevertheless he's made this irrational decision. As irrational as it is, he's made a decision rather to submit to external forms of tyranny, external forms of control, which are partly punitive, but also partly permissive. I mean, the slave is going to have some food, he's going to have some shelter, and he'll be told what to do, and he'll have the camaraderie of other slaves and so on. So the slave mentality, the man who submits, has in fact chosen to submit to external authorities, regardless of how tyrannical they are, rather than face the journey on the Siddhartha road towards an understanding and an attainment of his own selfhood.
Think about that idea. And guess what? When he's talking about authority and things like that, he doesn't specifically mean, Big Brother or the government or anything like that. He means like all these things to where someone creates some sort of authority figure in their own mind. They just follow that. And that the actual, like, that muck that I talked about before, that like layer of ideas or concepts or whatever that are in between the ego and the authentic self, that's kind of like separating them. It's like there's some dark, scary things that you have to face about yourself in those areas. And I think a lot of people would rather choose some sort of authority figure over becoming their own authority figure, like becoming quote unquote fully known, authentic based on your own standards. Seriously, this happens a lot, a lot. I've done it for sure. I have done it for sure. What clothes do I wear? I want this thing. I want to achieve this goal. What clothes do I wear to get there? What are do's and don'ts in regards to how I act in the world? I just want to go along. I will forego, like, what do I actually want? I will forego that. I will skip that in order to fall into some sort of social rule. That's the authority figure. The actual, whatever idea or concept it is. It could be someone spouting it, but it's really your idea of that idea that you're following, even of a leader itself. So, yeah, I believe there's something there to that, to what he's saying. Difference is he's going to be mean about it. Like if he talked to any of you guys, just one on one personally, like really talked like the way he talks here, it's like you'd all probably fucking hate him and be real about it. You'd try, like you would think people would hate him, even if he's saying something of value, in my opinion, of value. But here we go.
To external authorities, regardless of how tyrannical they are, rather than face the journey on the Siddhartha road towards an understanding and an attainment of his own selfhood. This might be difficult.
Sorry, let me make sure volumes were. Come on.
For people to understand who are not familiar with psychology, who are not familiar with spirituality. But even in Christian terms, you find the same teachings, that you either have the truth or you have the non-truth. You have submittance to the world of the debauchery, or whatever you want to call it, to the lower.
I do have this right here, which I was going to make a video on specifically, but I can just read it here. This is from a Christian context. I believe it's the third saying. Third saying, the Gospel of Thomas. It says, when you become acquainted with yourselves, then you will be recognized, and you will understand that it is you who are children of the living Father. I think it's all symbolism. I don't think they literally mean guy in sky who actually has a dick and balls, which makes him a father. I don't think they look at God exactly like that. I think it's more of a symbolic terms. But yeah. But if you do not become acquainted with yourselves, then you are in poverty, and it is you who are the poverty. So if take God, sit him here, smash him into a million pieces, and throw him all over the fucking universe, like, okay, God's all over the place. It means you're an aspect of God, which means you don't come to recognize yourself, and you won't be recognized. And if you invest in something that isn't the actual your wealth, right? What is wealth to you? That's your wealth. If video games are important to me, video games is my wealth. I am rich when I get to fucking sit and play video games. Right? Talking about the joys of life. Or beyond. Beyond inhale and exhale. But if you invest in something that someone tells you have to follow or all that shit, right? And they make you make yourself invest in those things because, like, oh, survival or authority figure or mommy and daddy told me, or I never even stopped and thought about it, so I'm just going along to get along. Oh, you're investing in poverty. Thus, the thing you're experiencing is the poverty. Since when do I start doing this shit? Start talking with my hands. Maybe I really care about this. I don't know. Oh, wrong video. All right, let's continue.
Terms, you find the same teachings, that you either have the truth or you have the non-truth. You have submittance.
Doesn't the Bible say that humans were made in his image? And the Matrix is about a computer program. Cue the Eddie Murphy meme. All right, here we go.
An attainment of.
I'm just fucking around.
This might be difficult for people to understand who are not familiar with psychology, who are not familiar with spirituality. But even in Christian terms, you find the same teachings, that you either have the truth or you have the non-truth. You have submittance to the world of the debauchery, or whatever you want to call it, to the lower drives, to the lower instincts, to the lower man. So this is the nub of it. And I've done interviews, and we've talked about this in the DVDs, and we very much talk about it in the Architects of Control series, that here is a man who is committed within his subconscious to not live an authentic life. Then he wants to cluster with others who've made the similar decision. And that's what we have in societies, is an inauthentic collective. But it's based out of people who would rather submit to the external tyrannies of Big Daddy, who would rather cling to the handrails, who would rather lean on one another, than face the anxiety that arises when you have to go on the inner journey of truth, when you have to discover what you're really here for on this planet, and who you are yourself. Alan Watt, the great,
That basically means if Michael Tsarion was in my Discord, he'd be there with a knife trying to separate everyone from each other. Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? Seriously. I try to live and let live until I see like something that, like, oh, this is like a principle I hold. You're like pulling your dick out in the face of it. Okay, now I'm gonna fucking go at you in a bit. Or, like, hey man, it's probably not cool to do that, or something like that. This guy would be like, who the fuck are you? Oh, you have all the answers, do you? Huh? Come over here and tell me. It's like, almost like he's a. I don't know if he would actually do that. I'm just saying, but it's almost like he's like a metaphor for the character I just said right there. It's like it's almost like that's a metaphor for the shit that I think nature does. That's like, if you won't walk on your own, I'll fucking drag you. Just fuck, right? It's what do you say, like the Siddhartha Road or whatever? Like there's the walking the less traveled path, and then there's nature dragging you because it's like this is what you would want anyway, somewhere deep down in that authentic realm where you have your true desires, true wants, true likes, true dislikes. Like, oh, I'm gonna fucking pull you underwater. Thus, it looks like a horror film, right? Here we go.
Then face the anxiety that arises when you have to go on the inner journey of truth, when you have to discover what you're really here for on this planet, and who you are yourself. Alan Watt, the great Zen commentator, always said that there's a taboo against knowing who you are. Jung commented on it. Freud commented on it. Nietzsche commented on it. Schopenhauer, Kierkegaard, they all mentioned this falling away from actual selfhood. We know what makes us the same as everybody else. All the institutions want to drum it into us what makes us uniform and the same. We're very rarely taught, except by true teachers, what it is that makes us unique. Because the system isn't interested in really what makes us unique, except in a sort of a topical way, in order to keep the slave busy. But when it comes to real psychological and spiritual sovereignty, they're not interested. And that is the reason why we do not have political sovereignty. That is why it's eroded. That's why we don't have social sovereignty. That is why that is being eroded. It's because man does not have, nor does he even want, for the most part, psychological, moral, intellectual sovereignty. So the Ayn Rands are unread. The Alan Wattses are unread. They're forgotten. The psychologists are forgotten, except when it's the most topical spinner rack rubbish in order just to keep a sort of spring.
Now this is gonna be interesting. Like I said, I like the darker side, doing existential study and shit like that, right? Now, which might help into why I like Batman or The Matrix or Black Swan. Those are darker movies. The Matrix is probably the most light out of all three of those franchises, whatever. But this is where it gets dark, extra dark, because I noticed that as a popular thing. He calls them spinner rack. It's like spinner rack, new age. And trust me, there's a place for that. This guy came from the New Age movement. Like his family, I think his grandmother's was pretty famous in like the New Age India. I think he's like half Indian or part Indian, part Irish or something. But he the works I've gotten from him, he does not like the quote unquote one season world where it's all happy rainbows and sunshine. And I think he's right about this part, that there's gonna be these things. It's hilarious. Been a rock. Because it's like, yeah, you can see them out there. You ever see like the YouTube video? Yeah. All you gotta do is transcend your ego. Like, what does that mean? Doesn't that require some sort of dark fucking confrontation with yourself? No, no, no. You can come buy it over here. I'll sell you transcending your ego. Or it's something like that doesn't even make sense. But all right, let's keep playing.
Man does not have, nor does he even want, for the most part, psychological, moral, intellectual sovereignty. So the Ayn Rands are unread. The Alan Wattses are unread. They're forgotten. The psychologists are forgotten, except when it's the most topical spinner rack rubbish in order just to keep a sort of spring cleaning on your normal inauthentic existence. Because remember, dust gathers and everything, rust will accumulate. So even in the best of lives, you're going to feel a little anxiety, a little frustration, a little, hang-ups with your boyfriend, girlfriend, all the roles. The roles need maintenance. The roles need jump starts. So we have just enough psychology, just enough.
He's such an asshole. I thought I was joking, bro. Oh, fuck. That's hilarious, bro. Just enough psychology to get by through the day. No one wants to address that. Oh, Jesus Christ. He's a fucking killer, man. Here we go.
So even in the best of lives, you're going to feel a little anxiety, a little frustration, a little, hang-ups with your boyfriend, girlfriend, all the roles. The roles need maintenance. The roles need jump starts. So we have just enough psychology, just enough New Age gimmickry, just enough incense-waving towel-head shaman from the East, snake charming BS, just enough of that fake shamanistic nonsense, not the real thing at all, to spray paint, to refresh, to upgrade the inauthentic life. So the study of the inauthentic life is the study of and the opposite man, the man who's authentic, is what we refer to as the outsider. He is trying to handle, the journey within. He is cutting through the briars and the bushes. He is traveling the road less traveled. He is inner directed. He's not waiting for the world to turn him on and give meaning to his life, because he realizes that he has to give meaning to the life. He is the one who realizes that it's not experiences that have to be constantly fresh and new, but the mind of the experiencer that must be always refreshed and anew.
That is an awesome. It's not the external experiences that are, overly needed to be constantly changing or anything like that. Like, just having the mind refresh. Right? Usually, typically, people do that. They do something externally in order to, let me get a break from this or whatever the fuck. But it's not wholesale necessary, for sure. Right? Because what if you can't leave your external environment? Like, oh no, mind can refresh. There are ways to do it. People call it meditation. I don't know what I would call it. I would call it cleaning. All right, I'm clean. Cooling down, if you will. Or kind of sorting the chaotic shit that's happening. It is very much doable. But once again, I think too many people rely on these external things to do it for them. And it's like, what if those things aren't there? What if you do the external thing and the chaotic thoughts don't go away? Because maybe you have to come back to the chaotic scenario or whatever. But yes, perspective, the experiencer, that's the thing that should probably be to change. That should reinvigorate meaning in something. Not just, whoa, look at the view. Oh, I gotta wait and then go find that view again. Or find a different view this time, or whatever. And there we go.
On and give meaning to his life, because he realizes that he has to
dark
give meaning
stuff.
to the life. He is the one who realizes that it's not experiences that have to be constantly fresh and new, but the mind of the experiencer that must be always refreshed and anew. But the rest of the mankind does not want that. They're dead. They're morally dead, or they're spiritually dead, saying, world, turn me on. Give me more stimuli. Give me more things. Give me more stuff. And so what we have now in the modern world is an infantile level of development, spiritually and mentally, in which we just sit there hoping that the world is going to turn us on. And you know something? Big Brother is exactly what Big Brother wants to hear. Because those are the manufacturers of the lie. Those are the manufacturers of all the things that the narcissistic personality type demands.
Now, if you can't tell already, he's already conspiracy leaning. 100% conspiracy leaning. So take that into account. I'm not calling that a bad thing, I'm just saying. That's kind of part of the world this guy walks in. And yeah, there are plenty of things waiting for you in regards to the, if you choose not to do the deeper internal work, existential work, and you want to rely wholesale on whatever external fucking fixes and cures and distractions and on and on and so forth. You look at it, and it kind of seems like weirdos in high places of society seem to push these things constantly, right? I'm not even saying it's like that conscious either, right? It could be something that people just normally wanted for fun, and then boom, now it's commercialized, and it's in a fucking assembly line or out like all the time, 24/7, go 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 go. Yeah, these things would be fucking awesome. A lot of these things, like we talk about the technology stuff. A lot of shit sounds fucking awesome. It's just doing it. Who's gonna be implementing it? Who's gonna have more social control over it? On and on and so forth. All right, here we go.
I've often said in my work that the ego is the ghost that rose out of the grave of the self. And so only a return to selfhood is going to deal with the narcissistic self, is going to, balance the ego drives. You see, you can't troubleshoot it in an external way, sort of, with a hammer and tongs. It's only when you, like what Minister Fuller said, replace that system. And so a return to selfhood, individually, in a psychological context, is the only remedy to all the other issues, be they political or social. I understand what those problems are. I study them myself, and I also know what their remedy is. But the remedy is in consciousness. It is the change of a man's consciousness that changes the rest of the world. And any other teacher, and there are many, be it the Tim Freakies or whoever it might be, who are trying to lead you away from that true sense of independence. These are the Pied Pipers of doom, who are promising you global villages and global utopias and brotherhoods of man and global diversity and multiculturalism and all the other nonsense that they put in front of you. But what you've got to realize is that they're planting the foundations of that global village right on top of selfhood. They're putting it on the corpse of selfhood. And so these people are Pied Pipers of doom. But the man who's already abnegated his selfhood, who's already in absence of being, isn't he going to follow those people? Isn't he going to listen to the flute? And like the rats and the children who followed the Pied Piper, isn't he going to get in line as soon as he hears those clarion calls, which is exactly what you see in the world today? Because the greatest threat in our world is the selfless human being.
So mean.
The man who has no sense of who he is. No, he's absolutely, everything about him is conditioned by the world. He's just a role player. Not that roles are wrong, but they are wrong if they've taken the place of the authentic development, the authentic selfhood.
There you go. See, a lot of people, this happens with me, I think, where you take certain words and I use like I pair them with something negative. People think like, oh, you're saying that thing's evil or bad or something. Like, no, roles are not bad. Roles are not evil. Conditioning's not evil. Whatever. Politics, not evil. That's why I always make that separation to call certain things, oh, they're like neutral. It all depends on how they're being used in a way. And these type of things like roles, that's more about how you are existentially using them with yourself, which is like a crime against yourself, which is much harder to, right? Not a lot of people, to be real, not a lot of people will go out of their way to help you from yourself in a way, right? If you're being inauthentic by your own personal standards, not a lot of people that will notice, if anyone notices at all. And if you did say something about it, how many people are going to actually understand, like, hey, maybe this is going on, or maybe this is happening, or I can ask questions like this. Everyone's capable of it, but I don't know how many people are like, if I just said, stop right now, who can do this? You got to do it to yourself first. All right, here we go.
And so from the parents to the schools to the priests and politicians, that's why you have that 100%, the despise of selfhood and the crushing and the suppression of all forms of independence wherever you get it. That's why you have a media that sells you these kinds of models and sells you this pornographic nonsense and puts in front of you these theories that, are about you losing your selfhood, immersing yourself in something that's, again, uniform. in order to belong, in order to have approval. And of course, since in life, the way it works, you don't get the approval, so then we have now what? A neurotic individual.
He
An
sounds so
individual who doesn't know
angry
whether he's
about it.
coming or going. An individual who has to go to alcohol. An individual who has to go to gossip. An individual who has to take medications. An individual who's perpetually lost and perpetually out of control. Or super involved in the lives of other people. Or smother mothers. You see? Or people who have to be constantly voyeuristic or constantly working all the time, which is a problem that you have in America, of the culture of just work, 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 work. So that you're avoiding the voice within. You're avoiding coming to who you really are. You're losing yourself in the role. Or people who've given themselves over to some God in the sky concept, which is what we know as religion.
I'm telling you, like, that's probably the biggest one, is the role thing. Getting lost in that, to where you're doing it to yourself, right? Roles are not inherently evil or bad or anything. They're actually, like, healthy, a part of the world and stuff. But to where you start recognizing with the role itself. That's the scary part. You talk about cops, and you go up to, like, who are you? I'm a cop. They are the badge. They are the role. Those are their brothers, and on and so forth. This happens with a lot of people. I think most people don't recognize with their roles like that. Well, they don't recognize with their occupational role like that. Right? A lot of people are like, "Whoo, work's over, yeah." Right? Like they're happy to get out of work and maybe fulfill some other role, the role of being a father or a mother or a sister or a friend. But to where you get fully locked into that, locked and lost in that role. That's the no-no, and it could actually have like even if there's some sort of well intention behind it, it could definitely have a negative impact, for sure. uh, that one's hard though. That one's difficult to see sometimes. Sometimes when you're so like when you get into the habits of life and you get into a rhythm of it, and just constantly just like doing the weekly, like, okay, I do this 5 days a week, days off. 5 days, like my workout routine, like 5 days a week, 2 days off. 5 days a week, 2 days off. Where it's like you just get in a rhythm. You're not renewing the mind while you're doing it. You're kind of just following the cycle. Oh, you might fall asleep into the role without realizing it. So one day you look in the mirror and you're just like, what am I doing? Maybe someone changes or has an epiphany. Or they do the same thing they've been doing, but in a different way, from a different perspective, with a different zest, or a different sadness, or a different anger, or whatever. Like that renewing of the mind, as Tsarion said. All right, here we go.
I'm not good enough. I'm a sinner. I'm too little. Let me give myself to the guru. Let me give myself to, this projected higher man. There's a million and one ways in which man is escaping from his authentic existence. And until there's a radical change in that field, you see, we cannot hope to see change in other areas. All you will see is more decoration and more upgrading of the room of the inauthentic life, period.
Michael, that was absolutely marvelous.
I said it
and
first.
Was,
I'm on a
exactly
delay,
the sort of
just so you know.
I was hoping to get when I invited you onto the YellBRo podcast in the first place. We are just about out of time, but people who listen to the YellBRo podcast is that more and more people are...
All right, so there's like a second part of this where I think he brings up a little more social things. Now remember, this is, I believe, like I said, I'm guessing, I think it's from 2009, 2010. Let's see if he brings up anything that's relevant today. Not calling him a guru or a psychic or anything like that, but there are certain things that this guy talked about that are now like seemingly starting to forefront. Definitely the vaccine, but here we go.
dissatisfied with the bread and circuses that are thrown out that are meant to stimulate and distract and keep people in the
No
inauthentic
comment.
life, and they are looking for something more
I'm ahead of
authentic.
you in time, just so you
And
know.
the new
I won.
organizational tools that we talked
What's up,
about
Dubster?
earlier are allowing these people to communicate in a way that they couldn't do before. Before we had the one-to-many
I'll get to your video,
communications,
Ben,
and
as soon as
the corporate entertainment meisters were telling us that most people are completely satisfied with
I'm
these
recording a
distractions, and that's
video
all they
right
really
now.
want. And the voice of the people who were dissatisfied and longing for something more authentic was marginalized. It was just not presented. And now we're finding out that that was a lie, and people are finding their voice. And that is a very hopeful narrative, and I wonder if it is one that you also subscribe to.
I subscribe to it 100%. My message, and I've even said this live to audiences, and I've seen the responses, because remember, who is it basically that comes to talks by people like myself? Is the outsiders. Is the people who, the moment that they've mentioned chemtrails, fluoride, vaccinations, or anything that really matters in this world, have been looked like they are absolutely ready for the funny farm, all right? So we're getting these people, and they're coming in, and what I'm seeing is a good...
It's kind of like the social side to like the metric, like I was bringing up earlier. And certain ideas people go in with or care about or study end up being like ostracized. And I think she meant something else as well, not just socially being ostracized, but also like the persona, the archetype you show to the world, because it's something that's hard for you to hide, as opposed to maybe others can acclimate better. You just suck at hiding it, at hiding like, you know, what's really going on with you. And yeah, feel alienating. That makes sense. Here we go.
The thing is that, you know, they're okay with their difference. A lot of people are kind of handling it, but I do get, you know, emails and communication from people who are really under the weather. They're not able to handle it. They feel ostracized. They feel lonely. They feel, you know, misunderstood. Of course, my message to them is, what the hell are you wasting your time wondering what other people are thinking of you? It's that you're still caught in that, I need approval from other people, and if I'm not going to get it, I'm a damaged, you know, and mutilated person. Snap out of it. What does it matter what they think? That's my basic message. But more to get to the heart of your question, yeah, my message is to my audience is, if you are not feeling all right with all the stuff that is going on in the world, you are actually healthy and you're doing absolutely fine. So no matter what happens to you, you know, with your nightmare fears, no matter how disenchanted you may feel, underlying those complexes and syndromes is a deeper voice going, you know something, you are sane. Because as bad as it is to face these issues, it is better to see it, because at least by seeing it, and the fact that you do see it, that's a testimony that you're doing okay. It's the same thing like a doctor in a battlefield. It's the same like a surgeon in a state of tremendous dis-ease. At least he can see it, but that's the only chance you're going to get to be able to diagnose the problem, you see, and then heal. So my message is, all these people who feel you should feel piteous about what is taking place. You should not feel all right with a rotten status quo. You should feel angry and you should feel mad as hell. And if you're against it, always realize that is an affirmation of your own sanity. It's like Howard Zinn said, disobedience and rebellion is not our problem. Obedience is our problem. And we've got to realize that, you know, this kind of slavery is no longer valid. Or what you're going to see as we move down towards 2012, you're going to see a parting of the ways. You're going to see some people who cannot ever in any way commit to the authentic life, and therefore they're going to go through to the inauthentic model. Okay, the waves will just part, and one group is just going to simply be heading down a very dark road towards some kind of post-human dystopia, which we have talked about, you know, in the Artifacts of Control series.
What he means by post-human whatever is the technocracy. That's what he means. That's what it means by post-human, like, you know, like all the digital imprinting and all that shit, and, well, you know, we're just machines, and we are our brains, thus we can just move our consciousness to this robot body, or on and so forth. Like, even what something like things in society changing as far as, like, you know, machines even replacing jobs or whatever the fuck. All that and all the shit's gonna play on the psyche. That's what he means by post. Thing we know as human will be, well, attempted to be. All right, here we go.
And then you're going to have the other people that you've just described who are able to find their center again, as Joseph Campbell said, to find your bliss.
What's up,
All governments
EndaFed?
are said to find the still point, and this is happening. There are people who are managing to do this. And in a way, the feedback loop with that is, in one way, you kind of can be all right with some of the tribulations that are going on. Because ultimately speaking, if the tribulations that are happening in this world assist people not only to be shaken up, but to be woken up and to find their center again, both spiritually and morally, you know something? In the end, that's a good thing. You know, one of my mentors, Christian writer, George MacDonald, he said, if the end of your road is good, then all the steps upon that journey and that road also become good, even that which was bad. But if the end of your road is darkness and lack of light and failure and bad, then all the other steps upon your road of your journey, including the good, are ruined. Other steps.
That last part I kind of disagree with. I disagree with that part. But yeah, something interesting about that guy's where things he says and you know how he talks about it, it's very mean. It's not going to comfort you as you're listening or thinking about these things. It's there to, you know, it's like Nick Diaz fighting someone. He's like this, fucking slap him. He's like, what, bitch? What? Like it's there to throw something at. Not only is it his perspective, I think, but also it's very counter to many of the notions, and he's quite angry about it too. He's very like he seems like he's upset about the things he's seeing from people. I'm not gonna lie, I get upset too. I get pissed off. Oh, I fucking cares about this shit. What the fuck? I don't yell about it like that, but I'm hey man, I keep saying this shit is important, but no one fucking cares about it. I don't know. I share that frustration with Michael Tsarion. Although we come to we have some different ideas about things, but yeah, we definitely agree. Definitely get upset by that thing. Well, because I think, part of it is I think he wants to make the world better by his own idea of better world, I would think. And so do I. That's some sort of a line there, right? Some of his social ideas are absolute dog trash, but when he starts going into existentialism in that mean, dark version of it, which I'm willing to go to, I just need, you know, I've done it with James. I need someone who's like comfortable with that. I've done this shit to James, but I mean like someone who's comfortable being able to like they're not gonna be like screw you and run away forever or whatever the fuck. He's like someone who's like who understands what I mean by like that fucking that darker aspect. That's to be honest with you, at the end of the rainbow, at the end of that dark journey, it's beautiful, interesting, and fun. Who doesn't want to be Batman? I mean, come on. I'm joking. Kinda. All right. That's just me rambling. It's an interesting video. Obviously, I'm gonna link it. You can search the guy's name and find more stuff. He's gonna say some shit you don't like, probably. Whether it's something on a social level or psychological level or whatever level. If you don't like Ayn Rand, you might not like some of the things he says, but at the very least, I find them interesting. All right. That is it from. Yeah. Please subscribe if you like. Comment. Agree, disagree. Tell me what you think. What do you think about the content played? Any ideas about authenticity or inauthenticity? Tell me what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to share, support, hopefully donate to Devon's Journey to Recovery, to helping victims of Africom, to Cohen Daly, the Australian boy. On the Bobby, mate. Also, help donate to and share. Donate to other content creators. Stevie, aka Redneckonomics, Sleepy J, buy him a coffee. And if you have some money left over, give some to Ali Alexandra. All links in the description box. And with all that said, give this video a thumbs down.